and Mr. Stagg here. In the late 1970s, America was going through an economic storm, inflation was climbing, consumer confidence was falling, and retail was in a transition phase. But out of this turbulence, a new empire would rise. One built not on luxury goods or Wall Street speculation, but on plywood nails and the sweat of ordinary homeowners. This is the story of Home Depot, the brainchild of 5 determined men: Bernie Marcus, Arthur Blank, Ron Brill, Ken Langone, and Pat Farah. Together, they transformed the way Americans built, repaired, and renovated their homes, creating a company now worth over $400 billion and employing hundreds of thousands. Bernard "Bernie" Marcus was born in 1929 in Newark, New Jersey, to poor Russian Jewish immigrants. Growing up during the Depression, Bernie quickly learned the value of hard work. He originally dreamed of becoming a doctor but couldn't afford medical school, so he studied pharmacy instead. After graduation, he found his way into retail management, working at various drugstores and discount chains. He had a knack for spotting inefficiencies and motivating people, a skill that would later define his career. Arthur Blank was born in 1942 in Queens, New York, also to a Jewish immigrant family. His father, a pharmacist, passed away when Arthur was just a boy. His widowed mother struggled but instilled in him a fierce drive. Arthur studied business administration and worked at accounting firm Arthur Young before moving into retail. Where Marcus had charisma and vision, Blank brought operational discipline and financial savvy. Ron Brill, born in 1948, would become the quiet architect of Home Depot's financial backbone. Brill studied economics at Claremont Men's College before earning his MBA at UCLA. Early in his career, he worked for Dahlin, a retail conglomerate. That's where he first crossed paths with Marcus and Blank. Brill wasn't flashy or outspoken, but he was meticulous, behind-the-scenes strategist who understood how to scale a business. And then there was Pat Farah, the wild card. Farah didn't come from Wall Street or an Ivy League background. Born in Southern California in 1944, he was a high school dropout who loved tinkering with hardware. Farah opened a chain called HomeCo in the 1970s, which was essentially a prototype of the warehouse-style big-box home improvement store. His entrepreneurial instincts were raw but powerful. He knew what customers wanted before they did. In the mid-1970s, Marcus, Blank, and Brill were working at Handy Dan, a California-based home improvement chain owned by Dahlin Inc. Marcus was CEO, Blank was VP of Finance, and Brill was controller. The three were a tight-knit team, but corporate politics came crashing down in 1978 when a new executive at Dahlin clashed with Marcus. The board sided against him, and Marcus, along with Blank and Brill, were fired. It was devastating. Marcus later recalled sitting in his car in tears, wondering how his career could end so abruptly. But as fate would have it, losing that job became the turning point of his life. Around the same time, Pat Farah was struggling too. His HomeCo stores were running out of cash. Investors were pulling out, and Farah needed partners who could help scale his idea into something bigger. When Marcus and Blank met Farah, they instantly saw the potential. Instead of running small hardware stores, why not build gigantic warehouses filled with everything a homeowner or contractor could ever need? A superstore for home improvement. The four men came together, each bringing unique strengths. Marcus the visionary, Blank the operator, Brill the numbers man, and Farah the merchant. It was the perfect storm. This is where Ken Langone enters the story, and without him, Home Depot might never have existed. Langone, born in 1935 in Roslyn Heights, New York, was the son of a plumber and a cafeteria worker. He grew up working-class Italian, scraping through school with mediocre grades but unmatched hustle. He clawed his way into Wall Street, eventually founding his own investment banking firm, Invem Associates. Langone had a reputation: brash, relentless, persuasive, and he believed in people more than business plans. When Marcus and Blank pitched him their dream of a giant warehouse for home improvement, he didn't just see two fired executives, he saw visionaries. Langone used his Wall Street connections to line up $2 million in seed capital, convincing a group of skeptical investors that Marcus and Blank could pull this off. Later, he would describe Home Depot as the best investment he ever made. In 1979, with backing from investment banker Ken Langone, the team raised capital to open their first 2 stores in Atlanta, Georgia. The locations were massive, over 60,000 square feet, far bigger than competitors. Instead of the traditional cluttered hardware shop, Home Depot stores were designed like warehouses with towering shelves, orange aprons on employees, and wide aisles packed with inventory. But their real innovation was not just size, it was price and service. Home Depot sold tools, lumber, and supplies at rock-bottom margins, betting that volume would drive profits. At the same time, employees weren't just sales clerks, they were trained as experts. Customers could walk in and not only buy drywall, but also get advice on how to install it. This do-it-yourself with guidance culture became Home Depot's competitive edge. Still, the early days weren't easy. Sales were sluggish, and skeptics called the oversized stores crazy. Cash was so tight that Marcus and Blank would personally walk the aisles, making sure empty shelves were fronted with products to make the stores look full. But slowly, word spread. Contractors and homeowners realized they could buy everything in one trip, and at prices local shops couldn't match. By 1981, Home Depot had gone public on the NASDAQ, raising the funds needed for expansion. The orange box was multiplying across the South, then the rest of the country. By the late 1980s, Home Depot overtook Lowe's as the largest home improvement chain in America. The secret, relentless culture. Marcus would walk stores unannounced, checking bathrooms, talking to employees, even rearranging displays himself. Blank ensured operations were tight and finances solid. Brill handled the balance sheets with precision, making sure expansion didn't outpace profitability. And Farah, though sometimes erratic, kept pushing for bigger stores and more daring retail strategies. By 1990, Home Depot had over 100 stores. By 2000, it had over 1,100. Today, it operates more than 2,300 stores in North America, generating over $150 billion in annual revenue. Bernie Marcus served as CEO until 1997. He retired a billionaire with a net worth today estimated at $8 billion. Marcus devoted much of his fortune to philanthropy, especially children's health and veterans' causes. Arthur Blank succeeded Marcus as CEO before retiring in 2001. He remains one of America's wealthiest businessmen, with a net worth of around $7 billion. Blank is best known today as the owner of the Atlanta Falcons, NFL, and Atlanta United, MLS. Blending sports and business with his philanthropic work, Ron Brill, the steady hand in finance, stayed with Home Depot until his retirement in 2001. Though less public than Marcus or Blank, Brill's legacy is immense. He was instrumental in scaling Home Depot's financial systems. He passed away in 2016, leaving behind a reputation as the unsung hero of Home Depot's rise. Pat Farah, the Maverick, had a rockier journey. He left Home Depot in the 1980s after clashes over management style, but later returned as Chief Merchandising Officer. Farah eventually retired to California, content knowing his vision had changed retail forever. Home Depot's rise wasn't without friction. Critics accused it of crushing small independent hardware stores, forcing mom-and-pop shops out of business. During periods of rapid expansion, customer service sometimes suffered, with employees overwhelmed by massive store traffic. The company also faced scrutiny over its environmental impact, including sourcing practices for lumber, and political donations by Marcus and Blank occasionally sparked public debate. Yet, the legacy of Home Depot is undeniable. It redefined retail, creating a model where scale, low prices, and customer education coexisted. Millions of Americans learned to build, fix, and renovate their homes, while the big box concept inspired a generation of retailers from Walmart to Costco. Home Depot didn't just sell supplies, it sold empowerment, ambition, and the belief that anyone could tackle a DIY project with confidence. Home Depot today is the fifth largest retailer in the world. It survived recessions, the housing crash of 2008, and fierce competition from Amazon and Lowe's. Its market cap has exceeded $400 billion. And its orange aprons have become iconic in American culture. But the company's true legacy is cultural. Home Depot empowered ordinary Americans to become DIY builders. It fueled the housing boom by making construction supplies affordable and accessible. And it all started with four men, two fired executives, a financial strategist, and a high school dropout, who refused to give up. When Home Depot went public, few could have imagined the empire that Bernie Marcus, Arthur Blank, Ron Brill, and Pat Farah were building. The IPO price was $12 per share. But for those who believed in the vision, the reward would be staggering. Over the decades, Home Depot's stock has experienced 13 stock splits, multiplying the number of shares held by early investors and compounding the value of their original investments. A modest $1,000 investment at the IPO would have grown into roughly $10 million today. Those who reinvested dividends along the way would have seen even more extraordinary returns, turning $1,000 into $28 million, a testament to the power of patience, long-term investing. In other words, those who backed Marcus and Blank at the very beginning didn't just buy stock. They bought a ticket to one of the greatest wealth-generating stories in American corporate history. It's a vivid illustration of how vision, persistence, and execution can transform a simple warehouse concept into a multi-billion-dollar empire, benefiting not just customers but the early believers who trusted in the founder's dream. And that's the story of the Home Depot, a tale of fired executives who turned humiliation into opportunity, a Wall Street brawler who bet big on them, and an overlooked operator who quietly made it all work. It's a story about vision, resilience, and the power of second chances. Bernie Marcus, Arthur Blank, Ken Langone, Pat Farah, and Ron Brill didn't just build a hardware chain, they built an American institution. From the aisles of paint and power drills to the $400 billion giant it is today, Home Depot proves that sometimes the best revenge is building an empire. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this origin story, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Stag Research, your go-to channel for business deep dives and founder legacies. Got a hot take on Home Depot's future? Do you think Lowe's could ever reclaim the crown, or is Home Depot's dominance here to stay? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Mr. Stag, logging off. Logging.